My name is Lily Harper, and I used to believe I'd mastered the art of a meaningful life. At 32, I was a marketing manager at Pinnacle Dynamics, a tech giant in Seattle's glittering downtown, where glass skyscrapers reflected the restless Puget Sound. My office was a whirlwind of ambition, polished desks, the soft hum of laptops, the faint aroma of artisanal coffee drifting from the break room. I was known as the closer, the one who could turn a skeptical client into a signed contract with a single, flawless pitch. My campaigns brought in million-dollar deals, and I thrived on the adrenaline, the late nights crafting proposals, the high-stakes presentations, the thrill of seeing my ideas light up billboards and screens across the city. I'd walk through the Central District on my way to work, passing vibrant murals and historic churches, the neighborhood's pulse a reminder of Seattle's layered heart. At lunch, I'd slip to Laurelhurst, its quiet streets and lake views a brief escape from Pinnacle's chaos. Outside work, I had Ethan, my fiancé of 5 years. He was a graphic designer with a crooked smile that could unravel my worst days. We met at a dive bar in Fremont, laughing through a disastrous karaoke duet of Bohemian Rhapsody. He spun me around, his eyes sparkling with mischief, and by the end of the night, we were dreaming up a future together. Where Capitol Hill apartment was our sanctuary, walls painted a deep blue during a weekend of spilled paint and laughter, a shelf crammed with travel guides for Paris, Tokyo, Santorini, places we swore we'd visit. We were planning a wedding, a quiet affair by the Puget Sound with fairy lights twinkling against the water, our closest friends toasting our love. Life wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and I cherished it. I'd sit by Lake Union at dusk, sketching the houseboats in my journal, writing poems about love, permanence, unaware of the fragility beneath it all. Flashbacks of Ethan linger like ghosts. One spring, we hiked Mount Rainier, sharing a thermos of coffee at a lookout as the sun dipped below the peaks. He sketched me in his notebook, my hair tangled in the wind, and said, "You're my forever, Lil." His words felt like a vow etched in stone. But there were cracks I ignored, late nights he blamed. On client deadlines, phone calls he took in hushed tones, excuses that felt flimsy but I swallowed because I loved him. Trust was my blind spot, rooted in a childhood scarred by my parents' divorce. My dad left when I was 10, promising to call but rarely did. I'd sit by the phone in our home, a hopeful kid waiting for a voice that never came. I'd hide in my room clutching a stuffed bear, whispering to myself that I'd never be left again. One night I crept to the backyard, staring at the stars, writing in a childish diary. "I'll build a life where no one leaves." Mom worked double shifts to keep us afloat, her strength a quiet lesson in resilience. My sister Emma, and I clung to each other, building forts in our backyard, promising to always have each other's backs. Under the starry skies, I'd write poems about unbreakable bonds, vowing to build a life where trust was ironclad. I swore never to be that naive again, yet here I was, trusting Ethan with my heart. On Friesen, with my heart. Saddle was my canvas, its rainy streets a mirror to my moods. I'd walk from our apartment to Pinnacle, passing Capitol Hill's quirky bookstores, coffee shops with fogged windows, and street vendors selling flowers under umbrellas. On weekends, I'd wander to West Point Lighthouse, the sounds waves crashing against my thoughts, or lose myself in Lincoln Park's forested trails, the cedars whispering secrets. I'd visit Schmidt's Preserve Park, its old growth trees a sanctuary, or stroll through Sollard Park, the lake's reflection calming my restless mind. Pinnacle's building was a monolith of glass and steel, its lobby a shrine to success with marble floors and abstract art. My badge swung as I walked, my heels clicking, a reminder. I was building something, a career, a life, a legacy. I'd grown up dreaming of this, a girl from a small town who'd clawed her way to the city. But dreams, I'd learn, are fragile things. It was a dreary Tuesday in March 2025, the kind of Seattle day where the rain felt personal, like the sky was weeping for me. I was at my desk tweaking a campaign for a fintech client when my phone buzzed, a text from Sarah, my best friend since our University of Washington days. "Check your email now." My stomach nodded. Sarah wasn't one for melodrama, so I opened my laptop, heart hammering like a drum. The email was a forwarded screenshot, a conversation between Ethan and a woman named Claire. The words seared into me. "I can't wait to see you again. Last night was incredible." There were dozens more spanning 6 months, flirty banter, pet names, plans for hotel trysts. My Ethan was cheating. I stumbled to the office bathroom, locking myself in a stall as the world spun. My chest tightened, a panic attack clawing at me. I pressed my forehead against the cold tile, gasping, the emails replaying in my mind like a cruel loop. Sarah had met Claire at a Belltown bar where Claire, tipsy and bitter, spilled about her boyfriend who was engaged. Sarah, my fierce defender, played along, coaxing out details until Claire sent the emails. 6 months of Ethan, kissing me goodnight, planning our wedding while texting her. I remembered nights he'd come home late, smelling faintly of perfume, blaming it on a new client who loves meetings. I'd believed him because love makes you a fool. I started a journal that night, scribbling in a leather-bound notebook. How did I miss this? Was I too trusting, too blind? I feel like I'm drowning. I sketched a shattered heart, my pencil trembling. I wrote a poem. Trust, a fragile thread, snacked by lies I never read. I added a letter to my younger self. Lily, you were enough then, and you're enough now. Don't let his betrayal dim your light. I called Sarah from the stall, my voice trembling. How could he do this? I whispered, tears burning my eyes. I'm so sorry, Lil, she said, her voice a mix of pity and rage. You don't deserve this. Come to my place tonight. Okay. I nodded, though she couldn't see, and hung up. That evening, I confronted Ethan in our apartment. The fairy lights, we'd strung up, mocked me, their glow casting shadows on his guilty face. Who's Claire? I asked, holding up my phone, the screenshot a glowing accusation. His face drained of color, then crumpled. Lily, I can explain, don't. I snapped, my voice steel despite the ache in my chest. I've seen enough. His apologies were pathetic. It just happened. I didn't mean to hurt you. You're still the one I love. Each word was a lie, and I was done swallowing them. I threw his suitcase into the rain-soaked street, the door slamming behind him. I sank to the floor, the blue walls closing in, and sobbed until my throat was raw. My heart wasn't just broken. It was obliterated. My sister, Emma, called the next day, having heard from Ethan. He says he made a mistake, she said, her tone hesitant. Maybe you can work it out. Her words were a fresh wound. Ev and I had shared everything, summers at Grandma's cabin in Spokane, late night talks about our dreams. Her siding with Ethan felt like a second betrayal. He cheated for 6 months, I said, my voice cold. There's no working that out. She went quiet, and I hung up, feeling more alone than ever. I walked to Sword Park that night, the forest. Silence swallowing my tears, the rain soaking my coat. Sarah invited me to her lushy apartment, where we sat on her couch, sharing wine and memories. You're enough, she said, her eyes fierce. He's the one who failed. Her words were a spark, but the darkness was heavy. I journaled. I'm lost in this pain. How do I find my way back? Work was supposed to be my refuge, but it was a battlefield. Pinnacle Dynamics was led by Richard Vaughn, a 45-year-old CEO who was all charisma in public, TED Talks, Fast Company covers, but a predator in private. His office was a glass fortress on the top floor, overlooking Seattle like he owned it. I'd heard whispers, affairs with interns. Crude comments passed off as jokes. I dismissed them, too focused on my career. That changed at Pinnacle's annual retreat in Leavenworth, a Bavarian-style town nestled in the Cascades. The retreat was a mix of team, building and excess, bonfires, catered dinners, open bars. Richard was in his element, schmoozing in a tailored jacket, his smile sharp as a blade. During a group activity, he paired with me, his hand lingering on my back as he whispered, "You're the star here, Lily. Let's talk about your future." His tone was suggestive, his breath hot with bourbon. I pulled away, heart racing, but he just laughed. Later, at the bar, he cornered me again. "Play your cards right, and you could run this place," he said, his hand brushing my waist. I mumbled an excuse and fled, my skin crawling. I stood outside, the mountain air cold, writing in my journal. He's a wolf in a suit. How many others feel this fear? Back at the office, Richard launched a diversity initiative, a sham to boost his image while targeting women. I was assigned to his advisory group, enduring weekly meetings where his praise felt like a trap. "Lily, you're too talented to stay in the background," he'd say, his eyes lingering too long. I'd nod, my stomach churning, and leave feeling dirty. A whistleblower hotline. introduced during an audit, was sabotaged by HR Director Laura Bennett, who funneled complaints to Richard. An employee survey meant to gauge workplace morale was manipulated by Laura and VP Mark Reynolds, with critical responses deleted. Elena, a new marketing assistant, was Richard's latest target. She confided in me after a meeting, her voice shaking. He asked me to stay late, said it was for my growth. It felt wrong. I saw fear in her eyes, the same fear I felt. Elena rallied junior employees, her courage inspiring me. Priya, a new intern, overheard and joined us, sharing her encounter with Richard's mentorship. She became a leader among interns, mentoring Ayesha, a new intern who faced Richard's harassment within weeks. Aisha's quiet resolve, confiding in Priya about Richard's suggestive emails, strengthened our resolve. Diane Carter, a board member, began questioning Richard's spending after noticing irregularities, unaware of our plans but becoming an unwitting ally. I confided in Tara, a finance analyst who'd become a friend over coffee runs. We sat in a Central District cafe, the scent of roasted beans heavy in the air. He did the same to me, she said, pushing her glasses up. Asked me to discuss my career over dinner. I said no, and he reassigned my best project. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were tired. Mia, a single mom on my team, shared a similar story. Richard had pressured her into mentorship dinners, hinting her job depended on it. When she refused, he slashed her project budget, leaving her scrambling. Sophie, a junior designer, joined in, her hands trembling. He told me I'd get a promotion if I'd played nice, she whispered. I didn't know what to do. Jenna, a rival marketing colleague, had undermined my ideas in meetings, but one day she pulled me aside, her face pale. Richard tried to kiss me at the retreat, she admitted. I thought I could handle him, but I was wrong. Her guilt was palpable, and we weren't her rivals anymore. Rachel, a former Pinnacle employee, contacted me through Sarah, sharing evidence but fearing retaliation. Greg, a whistleblower from Pinnacle's IT department, provided encrypted files detailing Richard's financial schemes but faced threats, forcing him to relocate. Amar, a Pinnacle contractor, leaked documents about a shady consulting firm tied to Richard's shell company, but feared deportation, his hands shaking as he handed me a USB drive in a Laurelhurst park. Pinnacle's culture was a poison seeping through the cracks. Mark and Laura enabled Richard, dismissing complaints as overreactions. The office, with its sleek desks and city views, felt like a cage, my ambition tainted by fear. I sketched Pinnacle's glass tower in my journal, a poem forming, a fortress of lies where truth suffocates and dies. The dual betrayals, Ethan's infidelity and Richard's abuse, sent me into a tailspin. I stopped sleeping, my nights a blur of tears and Merlot. My apartment was a museum of pain. The coffee mug Ethan loved sat on the counter, a silent taunt. Where travel guides gathered dust, dreams of Paris now ashes, I'd stare at old photos us at Pike Place, tossing fish with the vendors, kissing under Christmas lights, and wonder how I'd missed the signs. Childhood memories flooded back, waiting by the phone for Dad. A 10-year, old and spoken, clutching my bear, learning trust was a gamble. I'd sneak into Mom's room, watching her sleep after exhausting shifts, vowing to be as strong as her. I'd lie awake, imagining a world where Dad stayed, where trust didn't hurt. Amma and I had been each other's anchors, yet she'd sided with Ethan, fracturing our bond. I wrote in my journal, why do I keep trusting the wrong people? I need to forgive myself. But how? I sketched a broken bridge, a poem spilling out. Betrayal cuts like glass, shards of trust I can't amass. I added a letter to my younger self. You trusted because you loved. That's not weakness, it's courage. Keep shining. I started therapy with you, Anne Padel, whose cozy Queen Anne office felt like a safe harbor. You're grieving, she said, her eyes kind. Not just Ethan, but the life you thought you had. I nodded, tears spilling. I feel so stupid, I admitted. How did I not see it? She leaned forward. Betrayal isn't your failure, Lily. It's theirs in one session. I confessed my struggle with self-compassion. I hate myself for trusting then, I said. Dr. Patel's gaze was steady. Compassion starts with you, Lily. You loved fiercely, that strength, not failure. You are enough. Her words were a lifeline, but I wasn't ready to grab it. I felt worthless, my confidence shredded. I journaled after a session. Dr. Patel says, I'm enough, but the mirror shows a fool. How do I believe her? I sketched a cracked mirror, a poem forming reflections lie, but truth will rise in time. My mom visited from Stakier, finding me curled on the couch amid takeout boxes. You're stronger than this, she said, her voice tough but warm. Harper, women don't break, they rebuild. She made tea, her hands steady, and shared stories of her own heartbreaks, her divorce, her struggles as a single mom. You're not alone, she said, squeezing my hand. We organized a family camping trip in the Cascades, with Emma and Dad joining. We pitched tents by a river, roasted marshmallows, and shared stories under the stars, crying over shared pain, our bonds strengthening. Dad taught me to fish, his patience a quiet apology for his absence. Emma and I stayed up late, whispering like kids, rebuilding our trust. Still, the pain was relentless. I'd walk the Central District at night, passing jazz clubs and community centers. The rain soaking my coat, Seattle felt like it was grieving with me. I journaled. The city cries with me, but I need to find the sun. Emma's betrayal cut deep. I visited our childhood cabin in Speyer, the pine-scented walls evoking memories of us as kids, building forts, sharing secrets. I stood by the lake, skipping stones, remembering how Emma braided my hair, promising we'd always be a team. I texted her, and we met at a Spacken cafe. I was wrong, she said, tears in her eyes. I didn't understand. We talked for hours, rebuilding our bond. I spent a week with my dad in Portland, staying at his apartment. We walked along the Willamette River, and he apologized, his voice heavy. I wasn't there, he said, but I'm proud of you. We hugged, tears falling, and spent days reminiscing, visiting his favorite bookstore, healing old wounds. We cooked dinner together, his stories of my childhood filling gaps. I'd forgotten. I journaled, Dad's trying. And so am I, healing feels like breathing again. I visited Professor New and my college marketing mentor at her UW office over tea. She listened as I poured out my pain. You're still the Lily who aced my class, she said, her voice firm. This doesn't define you. She gave me a side project, mentoring a student, group reigniting my passion. I joined a support group in Ballard, meeting women who'd faced betrayal. Their stories mirrored mine, their strength fueling me. Nadia, a survivor of domestic betrayal, joined, her story of reclaiming her life inspiring me. She started a support group within. Our group, her warmth drawing others in. I led a workshop sharing my pain, and their nods lit a spark. I wasn't going to let Ethan and Richard destroy me. I'd make them pay, not with violence, but with consequences they couldn't escape. I sketched a phoenix in my journal, a poem forming, from ashes I'll rise, truth my wings, justice my skies. Revenge required precision, like crafting a flawless campaign. I started with Ethan. His freelance career hinged on his online portfolio, his charm, his reputation. If I could dismantle that, I'd hit him where it hurt. I became a detective, scouring his social media, his emails. He'd left his account logged in on my laptop, careless. I tried a phishing scheme to access Richard's private emails, but it failed when Laura flagged it, teaching me to be cautious. I planted a hidden recording device in Richard's meeting room, but Mark found it, forcing me to abort the plan. I met Diane Carter at a charity event, posing as a concerned employee, and gained insights into board dynamics. But she remained cautious, her questions sharp. I contacted a whistleblower from the consulting firm, Vanessa, who provided emails linking Richard to fraudulent contracts but demanded anonymity, her voice trembling over a burner phone. I found Claire's Instagram filled with rants about liars. Posing as a concerned friend, I messaged her, saying I'd heard about her situation. She was furious, revealing Ethan was juggling 2 other women. She sent texts, photos, a voice recording of him bragging about playing the field. I grappled with guilt. Claire was a victim, but she'd known he was engaged. Justice trumped pity. I contacted Marcus, a tech-savvy friend from college who taught me HTML in a Ballard library, my laptop glowing late into the night. Our first website attempt was a mess, clunky design, broken links, but Marcus was patient. You're learning, he said, grinning. I willed Ethan's Truth, a sleek site using a burner email to stay anonymous. Marcus developed a blockchain-based archive with advanced encryption to protect it from takedown attempts. Priya added a user-friendly interface. Ayesha designed a subtle logo, her artistic touch grounding the project. The site compiled every shred of Ethan's deceit emails, texts, Claire's recording framed as a public service announcement for his clients. Claire agreed to help, sending more evidence. her anger matching mine. I nearly got caught when Ethan texted, fishing to see if I knew about Claire. I played dumb, my heart pounding, and kept working. I journaled, "This feels like war, but I'm fighting for truth." For Richard, the plan was bolder. I teamed up with Mia, Tara, Sophie, Alina, Jenna, Rachel, Priya, Greg, Omer, and Aisha, meeting in a Ballard coffee shop, its wooden tables scarred with stories. We called ourselves the Truth Squad. My name is Lily, and I never set out to topple empires. I was just a mid-level analyst at Pinnacle Technologies, a Seattle-based tech giant with a gleaming glass tower and a reputation for innovation. But beneath the polished veneer, a rot-festered, corrupt executives, silenced voices, and a culture that crushed anyone who dared speak out. It started with whispers, then grew into a roar. I couldn't ignore. This is the story of how a group of us, women and allies, brought down a predator and his enablers, not with vengeance, but with truth. It began with Alina, my coworker and friend, whose hands trembled as she showed me emails from our CEO, Richard Caldwell. The messages were subtle but unmistakable, pressuring her for private meetings after hours, laced with a tone that made my skin crawl. "I feel trapped," she whispered in the break room, her dark eyes haunted. I believed her instantly. Then Sophie, a junior developer, confided in me about a recorded meeting where Richard propositioned her, his voice dripping with entitlement. "You're special, Sophie." He'd said the word slimy even through the grainy audio. Rachel from HR slipped me memos proving Laura, Richard's deputy, knew about his behavior and buried complaints. Aisha, an intern, uncovered deleted employee survey responses that showed dissent was systematically silenced. The pattern was clear. Pinnacle wasn't just a workplace, it was a predator's playground. I wasn't alone in my outrage. Tara, a forensic accountant, dug into Pinnacle's financials and unearthed a shell company, Apex Solutions, tied to fake vendor contracts. Her findings pointed to a network of corrupt executives, including Charles Holt, Pinnacle's CFO, who funneled money through Apex to launder funds. Priya, a cybersecurity specialist, hacked into Richard's calendar, revealing secret meetings with Apex's shadowy consultants. Greg, an admin, shared encrypted files detailing a broader financial conspiracy. Omar, a project manager, handed me documents exposing Apex's role in siphoning profits. Each piece of evidence was a thread in a tapestry of corruption and abuse. We formed a quiet alliance, meeting in coffee shops and dimly lit apartments, far from Pinnacle, surveillance cameras. Sarah, my best friend and a paralegal, connected us with a lawyer, Maya, who ensured our actions stayed legal, dodging defamation traps. "Document everything," Maya advised, her voice steady. "Truth is your shield, but it needs proof." I took her words to heart, compiling our findings into a PDF titled "The Pinnacle of Hypocrisy," a 50-page exposé detailing Richard's harassment and financial misconduct. It was a labor of fury, each word typed with shaking hands as I channeled the pain of Elena, Sophie, Aisha, and countless others. To amplify our message, I reached out to Sam, an investigative podcaster with a reputation for fearless reporting. Over coffee at a Fremont cafe, he listened intently, his recorder off. "This is explosive," he said, eyes gleaming. "I'll run it anonymously, but you need to be ready for blowback." I nodded, my stomach churning. Lena, a cybersecurity expert, trained me to spot hidden cameras and detect surveillance in Pinnacle's office. I learned to check for tiny lenses in ceiling tiles and to sweep my phone for trackers. Priya's friend, Ravi, a data analyst, verified Tara's financial records referencing transactions to confirm the money trail. Zara, Maya's cousin and a social media strategist, crafted a viral campaign to ensure our exposé would hit like a tidal wave. We timed its release for Pinnacle's glitzy product launch, a live-streamed spectacle meant to showcase their latest AI platform. The irony wasn't lost. On us, Richard's empire would crumble at its peak. But the path wasn't smooth. Laura cornered me in the office one gray afternoon, her icy voice cutting through the hum of fluorescent lights. "I know you're plotting, Lily," she said, her eyes like daggers. I deflected, forcing a smile, but my pulse pounded in my ears. Later, in the elevator, Mark, a senior VP and Richard's loyalist, leaned in too close. "You're playing a dangerous game," he hissed, his breath sour. I laughed it off, but my hands shook as I gripped my bag. At night, I journaled my doubts. Am I crossing a line? Am I becoming what I hate? I sketched a storm, jagged lines of charcoal, and wrote a poem. Justice burns, a righteous flame, but guilt whispers my name. Dr. Patel, my therapist, helped me refocus. Justice is accountability, she said during our Zoom session, her calm voice grounding me. You're giving voice to the silenced. Sarah kept me sane, showing up with Thai takeout and her sharp humor. You're a badass, Lily, she grinned, tossing me a spring roll. I didn't feel like one, but her belief fueled me. I lived on coffee and rage, my apartment a mess of sticky notes and redacted documents. In my journal, I wrote, "This is bigger than me. It's for Alina, Aisha, all of us." I never planned to become a warrior. My name is Lily, and I was just an analyst at Pinnacle Technologies, a Seattle tech giant with a glass tower that gleamed against the Puget Sound skyline. But beneath its polished surface, Pinnacle hid a toxic underbelly, corrupt executives, silenced voices, and a culture that rewarded loyalty to power over truth. What started as whispers in the break room grew into a mission that consumed me. This is the story of how a group of us, women and allies, exposed a predator and his enablers, not with anger, but with evidence, courage, and an unyielding commitment to justice. The spark came from Alina, a coworker whose quiet strength I admired. One rainy afternoon, she showed me emails from our CEO, Richard Caldwell. The words were veiled but chilling, hinting at private dinners with a tone that made my stomach twist. "I feel like I'm drowning," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the office coffee machine. Sophie, a junior developer, shared a recording from a meeting where Richard's voice oozed entitlement, propositioning her with promises of career advancement. Rachel, an HR veteran, slipped me memos proving Laura, Richard's deputy, had buried complaints about his behavior. Aisha, a sharp-eyed intern, uncovered deleted survey responses that showed employee dissent was systematically erased. The truth was undeniable. Pinnacle wasn't a workplace, it was a machine that protected predators. The evidence kept coming. Tara, a forensic accountant with a knack for following money trails, uncovered a shell company, Apex Solutions, linked to fake vendor contracts. Her findings pointed to a network of corruption involving Charles Holt, Pinnacle's CEO, who funneled funds through Apex to launder profits. Priya, a cybersecurity whiz, accessed Richard's calendar, revealing clandestine meetings with Apex, consultants in upscale bars across Seattle. Greg Enid, admin, decrypted files exposing a broader financial conspiracy. Omar, a project manager, handed me documents detailing Apex role in siphoning millions. Each piece was a brick in a wall of truth we were building. We became a secret coalition, meeting in quiet coffee shops in Capitol Hill, or Sarah's cramped apartment in Fremont, far from Pinnacle's watchful eyes. Sarah, my best friend and a paralegal, introduced us to Maya, a lawyer who ensured our actions stayed legal. "Stay meticulous," Maya warned, her voice calm but firm. "Truth needs proof to stand." I took her advice to heart, compiling our findings into a 60-page PDF titled The Pinnacle of Hypocrisy. Writing it felt like carving out a piece of my soul, each sentence fueled by the pain of Alina, Sophie, Aisha, and others whose voices had been stifled, to amplify or expose. I contacted Sam, an investigative podcaster known for his relentless pursuit of truth. We met at a cafe overlooking Lake Union, the water gray under a drizzling sky. "This could bring Pinnacle down," he said, his eyes sharp with excitement. "I'll keep it anonymous, but brace for fallout." I nodded, my heart pounding. Lena, a cybersecurity expert, taught me to spot hidden cameras in Pinnacle's office, showing me how to check for tiny lenses in vents or under desks. Ravi, Priya's data analyst friend, verified Tara's financial records cross, referencing transactions to confirm the money trail. Zara, Maya's cousin and a social media strategist, designed a viral campaign with hashtags like #PinnacleTruth and #NoMoreSilence. We plan to release the expose during Pinnacle's product launch, a glitzy live-streamed event meant to unveil their latest AI platform. The timing was poetic. Richard's moment of triumph would become his downfall, but the road was treacherous. One evening, Laura cornered me in Pinnacle's empty conference room, her voice like frost. "I know you're up to something, Lily," she said, her gaze piercing. I forced a laugh, my pulse racing, and mumbled something about a deadline. In the elevator, Mark, of IP loyal to Richard, leaned in too close. "Careful, Lily. You're playing with fire," he whispered, his breath hot against my ear. I smiled, but my hands trembled as I clutched my bag. That night I poured my doubts into my journal. Am I going too far? Am I becoming the villain? I sketched a stormy sea, charcoal waves crashing, and wrote, "Justice is a flame, fierce and bright, but doubt haunts me in the night." I sold the apartment, moving to a Fremont loft with a view of the Sound, its exposed brick and skylights a canvas for my new life. I started painting, a hobby I'd abandoned in college, my canvases filled with Seattle's colors, gray rains, golden sunsets, the vibrant chaos of the Fremont Troll. I held an expanded exhibition at a Laurelhurst gallery featuring Mayas, bold abstracts, Priya's digital art, Nadia's evocative portraits, and Aisha's vibrant sketches, culminating in a youth art festival in Seward Park. The crowd's applause a balm to enabling her to lead workshops for other survivors. I reconciled with Emma over coffee and specking, revisiting our cabin, our bond healing through shared tears and laughter. I mentored Elena, Priya, Nadia, and Ayesha, helping them navigate their careers, their gratitude a reminder of my impact. I took a sailing trip on Lake Union, the wind in my hair grounding me. I volunteered at a women's shelter in the Central District, listening to survivors' stories, my heart aching but hopeful. I visited SPAC, expanding the community garden project with Mom, planting roots in more ways than one. We hosted a garden festival, the community gathering to celebrate growth, my family by my side. I joined a community group mentoring women who'd faced workplace harassment, turning my pain into purpose. I expanded Voices Reclaimed, painting murals with survivors across Seattle's neighborhoods, Laurelhurst's elegant streets, Seward Park's wooded paths. I organized a regional conference for survivors, drawing thousands for workshops, art, and healing. I guest lectured at UW with Professor Nguyen. My story inspiring students. The pain didn't vanish, but it faded, replaced by a quiet strength. I journaled. I'm not whole yet, but I'm healing. Every step is mine. A year later, I delivered a keynote at an unaffiliated conference in Seattle. The crowd a sea of faces seeking hope. I was betrayed, I said. My voice steady by a man I loved, by a boss I trusted. Betrayal is a wound, but it's not a death sentence. Trust is fragile, but so are the egos of those who break it. Resilience is rising from the ashes, rebuilding yourself stronger. Justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper, a website, an email that shifts the world. You're not broken, you're unstoppable. I shared Nadia's story, Ayesha's courage, the Truth Squad's triumph. My voice breaking but firm, the applause felt like a heartbeat, alive and fierce. I wrote a letter to myself that night, sealing it for the future. Lily, you've been shattered, but you've rebuilt. Trust yourself first, because your worth is yours alone. You've turned pain into power, mentoring others, creating art, building a life that's yours. Your initiative, Rise Reclaimed, has given voice to countless women. From Seattle to global communities, influencing corporate accountability and healing lives. You're unstoppable. I added a letter to my younger self. You loved with all your heart, and that's your strength. The world tried to dim you, but you burned brighter. Keep going. I expanded Rise Reclaimed, partnering with programs to offer workshops, legal support, and art therapy, shaping global standards for workplace safety. I'm Lily Harper, and my story isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming myself, proving that even in the darkest moments, you can find your way to the light.